Hello and welcome to the North Metro SBDC programming.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I understand in the Zoom world, sometimes we're driving, we're busy, we're cooking, we got things going on. Hopefully, everyone has clothes on today. But if you're sitting down, if you're not super busy, and definitely turn your camera on. We want to get everybody's shining, smiling faces on screen here so we can see you. Make sure you're a real person. We know AI is a thing now, and you don't even know if I'm real right now, right? This could be AI. So, because we're trying to use that in business more and more now. So, anyhow, if you're able, turn your screen on, and I'd love to see everybody there. I'm Raul Lopez. I'm the assistant director for North Metro SBDC, and I am super excited to host this info session for the leading edge with Miss Nancy Barnett here today. She's going to take over in just a minute here, but I just want to get a quick housekeeping thing in order. If you guys can just post in the chat, if you could just post your first, last name, your city that either you already have a business going, and this is the one that you would be thinking about for utilizing the leading edge to help you with. Or if you're going to be starting a business, you haven't started it yet, but you want to start a business, put what city you think you're going to be working out of, and what's one major either question you have about leading edge or about business in general, and or what's a major question that you or something that you really hope to get out of today's session. So post that real quick in the chat. First, last name, city that you do business in or would like to do business in, and a question that you have about leading edge or business or something that you'd like to get out of today. Drop that in the chat real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to Miss Nancy here. And I'll write that down again in the chat, so if anybody didn't get that, I'll have all that information there. So, Miss Nancy Barnett, please take it away. It's all
righty. So welcome everybody. And this is going to be kind of a quick intro into what is a 9-week class. So you can tell a difference between the two. It's really important. Well, let me step back and say I've been teaching this class for about 12 years now in many different forms, if you will. And the nice thing about this class is you're not graded. Okay, so you don't have to worry about report cards. It's really about you figuring out, well, it's for two people. If you've already started a business, it's about how to start it off right. And right is the subjective word, okay? And if you are already in business, it's about how do I improve it, grow it, move it to whatever its goals are. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a little presentation and kind of run through the basics. And then I'm going to have Raul, if you can, as you're looking through these chats, because I can't seem to do all at the same time, kind of thing, we'll start getting your questions answered. And there's probably going to be some questions that come up while we're in the presentation. I have no trouble with anybody raising their hand and asking the question. I want this to be really casual and open, okay, kind of thing. But my goal today is to get your questions answered so that you can make it sure that it's important that this is a match for you. Okay, so we want to make sure we're able to do that. So let me switch over. Okay, can you guys see that screen? Are we good? All right. So this whole idea of start smart, grow smart, stay smart, the idea is most of us, including myself, I was not originally taught to be a business owner. I was taught to be an employee. And it's a really different mindset that has to take place. And it's got many parts to it. So really understanding all of the parts puts you ahead of probably 90% of your competition. Okay, because most people don't get this information up front. We tend to get it later when we've made a mistake, usually. And that can be a hard fall. And so we want to protect some of that. So when we think about, when I say business planning to people, everybody's eyes glaze over. It's like, you know, no one says, I can't wait. I rarely see people say, I can't wait to start writing my business plan, or I can't wait to start doing my accounting. Those tend to be the two biggest ones that people go, oh my gosh, do I really have to do it? And the answer is yes, you do. All right. But why becomes the big deal? Why should I go to all the trouble, all the time, all the effort to do this? First thing is how you dream the business is different than how the business actually unfolds, if you will. And so our goal here is to help you really understand your business models, the pros and the cons, because nothing is perfect. Okay. And the second piece here is extremely important. Determine the financial viability of the concept before you spend money. The more you can do that, the better prepared you are. Okay. Then that's one of the biggest goals of this class. Financial viability means something different to everybody in this group. Okay. So again, everybody's going to come in from a different space, if you will. And then really, when we say strategic journey, okay? So strategic means I planned it. So when you go on vacation, years ago, I was the director of training for AAA for many years. Okay, they're all about vacation planning. That's what they do. They do travel is one of the things they do. And it's really about planning out where you're going to go, what you're going to do first, what you're going to do second, how much is it going to cost you, all of those kinds of things. This is that same thing, only on steroids. Okay. And then to figure out the other thing, when we talk about accounting, confuses a lot of people, but I will also tell you marketing scares people a lot. Okay. Especially those of you who it seems to be easier to market a product that I can stand behind. When you are the product or your idea is the product, it gets a little scary, okay, from that standpoint. So figuring out the initial direction of where you're going to go can take your blood pressure down, okay, because now you have a roadmap, so to speak. And then if any of you are looking for funding, you will need a business plan. There's really no way around that one, okay, from any legitimate lending source, okay, when it comes to that. So figuring out how much that is in the beginning is much better than figuring out why you're in it. So you want to take out as many surprises as possible. You will always have surprises, but you want to minimize them as you go through the process. So, so the first thing that I want you to think about, because we talk about, I have to go to the bank and get a loan. Okay. And we think we're writing this for the business. In reality, you are the first investor. And I want you to think of yourself as the investor. It's not the bank. It's not family and friends. It's you. And you need to convince you, if you write a business plan, You need to be able to read it and say, if I didn't know this dude, would I loan him any money? And if the answer is, let me think about it, it probably needs to be reworked somewhere. All right. So one of the questions I want you guys just to take a moment to think about, and nobody's going to see this. Okay. If you come to any consulting that you do with me, I always ask you this question. So some of you, I see some of you in this class, you're already going to know the answers for it. But the first thing, let's pretend I have a magic wand. I don't, but we're going to pretend. Pretend in 3 years I can grant your wish. How much revenue do you want coming into your personal checking account? After everything is paid, there's money to run the business, grow the business, do all of those things that you have to do as a business owner, have money for growth, all of it. How much money needs to be coming into your bank account every year for you to say this has been worth all the time, effort, risk, blood, sweat, and tears? Just take a moment to think about that. Okay. Once you write it down, anytime any of you guys have ever done any work in goal setting or anything, you know that if I write it down, it becomes more serious than if I think it, right? But if you say, I want this business to eventually bring me, and I'm going to make up the number, $100,000 a year, you have to figure out what it's going to cost you to start the business, run the business, hire the people, all those different components. If you have employees, if you have to, what's the startup cost? What's the cost for insurance ongoing? All of these things. Okay. They all have, you have to know what your costs are. This is the financial part. What's it going to cost you to start up and maintain this business to the point that it reaches break even? Break even is what my business partner says now it's worth you getting out of bed in the morning for. Okay. So what is that money that needs to come to you? Then you start understanding and you can start testing. Once you say, this is my model, can it reach that goal? If it can't reach that goal, that just means that you need to adjust, that you need to change. So again, those of you who already have a business, you're going to analyze, one of the parts of this class is you're going to analyze where you are at this moment. Okay. And where are the gaps? Those of you who have an idea, you're going to map out your initial strategy and then you're going to test it. But you're going to test it in a safe environment. Okay. And that's what we want to create in this class, is a safe environment for you to do that. So real quickly, I'm going to run through this whole idea of business planning. So we're going to pretend, again, this is what I'm going to tell you the process. If you went to a bank to get a loan, what would be the process? Okay. So this is the real quick version. So you go to a bank and it's an SBA approved lender. All right. And when you submit a business plan, I will tell you one thing the banks never do. They never read that business plan, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doesn't done that way. They have a stack and they go through them and they put them in this pile or this pile. Okay. Is it something they are interested in funding? Is it something they are not? So that executive summary, and there's different models out there, but it's pretty much all the same. Executive summary is the first thing the bank sees is the last thing you write. Okay. And it is a sales tool. Okay. So if you need to get their attention, you want them to read more. So I always compare it. I like to read. So, but I have a Kindle because I like the feel of a book with electronic, right? So I'm looking for a new book. Oh, that one looks interesting. Okay. I can download 3 free chapters. Okay. For free before I have to give my $12.99. Yay, team. I read those 3 chapters. It is only after I read those 3 chapters do I say to myself, do I care to find out if this dude lives or dies? If I care, I give them my $12.99. If I don't, I move on. That's what they do with that executive summary. Okay, so they want to know how much you're asking for. They want you to sound competent. You understand your model. It tells them what industry you're in, and this is something they invest in. Those are the kinds of information you give them, sole purpose to get them to read more. The next piece is the products and services, is the old style. What we see a lot more now is problem and solution. So here's the problem, and here's how my product, my service, my whatever is the solution, right? Kind of goes into why would you choose me? Okay, kind of thing. So that's, you guys shine in this. This is the dream. This is what you've been thinking about. This is what maybe some of you have already started to some degree. Okay, but this is the dream. All right. So you don't need a lot of help here. All right, because you know this. The next part, okay, is if they like that, then they go straight to the financials. This is why there's always a table of content. So when you say financials, financials are really the story of your business told in numbers. It is still the same story. So the story you tell when you're writing it, that same story needs to be told in the financials. All right. So in your financials, you have startup costs or growth costs. You can tag it any way you want. All right. So if it's startup is haven't started yet, I need funding. Growth is I've done this without your help and I need this to get it to the next level. Okay. And that's how you start speaking about this. So in your startup, okay, you're going to have, and some of these costs you'll have, some you won't. You'll have first and last month's rent if you have a space. You will tell them that you have money set aside for a CPA, money set aside for a business attorney. You're going to, if it's a space and you have remodeling costs, you're going to have some money for remodeling costs. Okay, kind of thing. If you say in your business plan you're going to have employees, then you're going to have hiring and startup costs before you can open your door, right? If you have a space, you may need signage, right? The cost of signage. If you say I have insurance, and let's pretend for mathematical reasons your insurance is $1,200 a year. Let's say you say I'm going to pay that $1,200, boom, right? And then when you make those projections, those 12-month projections, every month you're going to show yourself holding back $100 a month. So now you have that $1,200 when it is due. So start thinking about all the things that the messages that you're sending to those lenders, okay? And remember, you're the first lender, so just in case, right? So lots of stuff that goes in there. Cost of the loan goes in there. You always put, let's say you're asking for $50,000, let's say 10%, that's $5,000 in this case, that shows up as a contingency fund. You're telling them, I know I'm doing my best to estimate these based on research and blah, 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 because you cannot make these numbers up in your head. They have to be based on market research and other things, all right? But you're telling them, I'm doing my best, but we always know, anybody who's ever done a kitchen remodel knows it never comes in on budget, okay? There's always something more. So these are the underlying messages that you're sending to whoever is looking at investing in your business. Okay. So then 12 months of here's, this is what's going to cost us to run it. This is on my projection for sales. Those projections for sales and all of that has to come from research. It has to come from market research. You being a believer is not enough. Okay. So in this case, when we get into projections, you say, okay, I'm going to do best case scenario, worst case scenario, and then figure the one in the middle is probably closer to truth, right? And that's what you start to go with. All right. So it's really starting to look at how do I tell my story in numbers. If you say you're buying equipment, you're going to have real estimates, okay, of what that equipment costs. That goes into what we call an appendix, all right, kind of thing. If you say you're going to hire people, what is the rate of pay and how many estimated hours are they going to be working? All right, so I can start to get my employee costs, right? If I have to buy inventory, how much is that inventory going to cost? That initial inventory, and how do I figure out when I have to replace it as I go down the line? So financials. Then if they like the financials, they go to the marketing piece. They're all set up different depending on what template you use or whatever, but it's basically marketing plan, marketing strategy, marketing tactics. Okay. Marketing plan is, this is your gig. You get to say, first year, X amount of contracts. First year, X amount of revenue. First year, whatever you want to do, that's your goal. All right. And then you have second year and third year. The marketing strategy is how in the heck am I going to make those goals that I just set up, right? So who's going to love me? Who are my target markets and why? Where do they live? How am I, and then how am I going to reach them? What am I going to do? Right? Why are they my people? Why, if I'm doing I'm actually looking for a location, why am I looking in that area? What is telling me in the demographics that this is the right place to put that coffee shop or whatever I'm trying to do? Okay. So that's when you get into that marketing tactics. That's all that marketing, social media, whatever, however you're doing your marketing, and those costs somewhere seep into your financials. So everything is a match. Okay. Because they're looking for a match. And then the last piece is the management piece. The management piece is basically, it will be you with your resume attached somewhere. You're the head of the company. All right. If there's two of you, both of you, okay, in there, you're going to say, I have an attorney, I have a CPA. If you're lucky enough to have a mentor that's in your specific industry that is willing to give you guidance and help you in that, yay team, their name needs to go in that group. Oftentimes, if you work with those of us at the SBDC, you put our names in there and say, so-and-so from, SBDC business consultant. What the bank is looking for is this is the security blanket that says, I know I don't know everything. And so when I need help, I've already made a place for it. And I just saw Tim's thing about service. Service is going to be the same as the model's the same, except you don't have as many costs. Okay. But you still have to do it. All right. So still the thought piece. And sometimes it's more expensive on the brick and mortar by all stretch of imagination. Okay. But on the service piece where you run into issues is how much can you get done? Because you are the product, right? So how many consulting sessions or whatever you do can you do to get you to wherever you're going? So it's the same kind of process on that. So, Raul, we can take a second here to see it. Does anybody have any questions about so far?
Yeah, there were a number of questions in the chat.
Just give me a couple real quick.
Okay. Okay. There's some general questions, sort of like, is this right for where I'm at in my stage of business? Who is LE really for?
Mm,
Kind of some sort of
okay.
questions.
In that case, it fits for everybody. We've made it where what we teach you is, and I'll get to it, but we teach you business modeling. Okay. So then once you learn how to do this, you can do this for any business you ever think about. Okay. So it's not a one-time thing. So, and I just thought Eva's question about banks don't usually fund startups. We get startups. There, it depends on where you go. Okay. And there is, what we can help you with is, the review piece. So, I'll get to that in a second. So hold that thought. Okay. On that standpoint. So, let's go to this. So in our head, it's beautiful. Nobody has a nightmare of a dream. Okay, they just don't. And it feels simple. In reality, it's not. It's complicated. And even service ones are complicated. All right. So, and this is new territory for most of us. Most of us are employees that were given a job description. That as long as we fill the job description and we're nice to our coworkers and nice to the customers, we usually got to keep our job. Okay, this is a totally different ballpark, if you will, and we are judged by different metrics entirely. So I want you to never forget you're the first investor. If you're a service business, how much time is investing? I'm not just talking money, I'm talking time. How much time do you have to invest? What else is going? We're not just business. We have family, we have connections, we have a life. Okay. Some of you may be starting this business on the side with the idea to grow it into something, right? So how do you stage that is a piece of this business planning. So this is what I'm going to talk about is some business design. Okay. So this is all based on the business model. It's called Business Model Generation. It was a book written by Alex Osterwalder in 2010. And basically, what he said was the way we do business planning is stupid. And I totally agree with him. Okay. The way we used to teach business planning is we would give you a template and we would say, we know you've never been in business before, but somehow you're going to figure out how that goes into all of these sections vertically, because I know your brain thinks vertically. Yeah. Okay, thinks vertically. And you're going to put all this information in. And then when you go back, okay, to change something because you got new information, you're going to figure out how it affects each segment, each piece. And you can't do it. Your brain doesn't think that way. So he built this 9-segment, and he sent it out the Creative Commons, so the pictures are mine, not his. Okay, just want you to know. But he created this canvas, and you start with sticky notes. But he created the canvas. These are the 9 things that every business has, regardless if they're Microsoft or they're you. Now, is the budget and complexity different? Yeah. Okay. And then he did a beautiful thing. He sent it out to the Creative Commons. And with the Creative Commons, people have gone crazy with it. So there's a nonprofit model, there's a social aspect model, a social impact model. Sometimes we call those B Corps, okay, kind of thing here in Colorado. The answer is yes, Ava. So people just expanded it. So the top 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies, this is now ingrained in how they do their strategy. So again, once you get there, okay, once you learn how to do this, your brain starts to think this way. And this is really about getting you to think differently than maybe you've thought about this before. So again, this is how I say, here's my vision, and how am I actually going to get it not only on a canvas, but in a plan and then into action? How am I going to do that? Okay.
Nancy, Marguerite
Yeah.
had a quick question. What was the name of the guy that came up with that model?
Alex Osterwalder.
Spell that one.
Yeah. Oh, you're really good. Okay, he's from Sweden. Okay, just type in business model generation on Amazon. The book will come up. I think it's like $19. There's a book. That was the beginning of it. And since then, there have been many since. Okay, kind of thing. One of the things, I don't know, Raul, if I put it in there in our stuff, but I'm going to give you guys a reading list. Okay, it's basically, here's some really good things for you to start, because this class is just a piece of it. One of the things that I want all of you to become, if you're not already, I kind of think most of you are probably there already because you're here, but I want you to become a continuous learner. How fast does business change in today's environment? Right? So reading the trends, understanding all of that, that's something your brain just needs to go to, right? So you never stop thinking about that in some way, shape, or form. So 2 key questions that you're going to want to get answered, okay, is how much revenue can this business model generate based on my model, right? Based on the resources I have, and resources are not just money, they're time, right? Time has a, it's limited. So how do we best use that? And then what are the costs to create this revenue? What's it going to cost me to get it up and keep it going until it starts to make a profit? Owners make money out of profit. Okay, they get paid out of profit. Very different than I can't write myself a paycheck. Okay, I get paid when I have to pay other people to do what I need, and I'm not getting paid yet because my revenue hasn't reached the level it needs to be. You guys need to eventually be able to say, this is the revenue, this is my break-even point. When I get to this revenue, I'm going to be able to, pay myself some change. The other thing that we do in this class is, and this is, he set it out to the Creative Commons, so we can do whatever we want with it. So one of the things that I created and I put in the class, I call it the big why canvas. It's why in the heck are you going to do this to yourself? Okay. And I really want you to start getting into how you have to think personally, how you're going to support yourself financially, how you're going to do this emotionally, how you're going to do this physically, because some of you are doing other things to pay the rent, so to speak, right? So how are you going to get all of that done? And then on the right side of the canvas is, who are your cheerleaders? What is your support piece? And I want you to really put that down so you can start saying, I have to build this, okay? And then your value proposition, or your heart, okay, your passion, it needs to match the lifestyle you want to live. Does that make sense? So you need to create a business that matches the lifestyle you want to create. Well, you need to understand what lifestyle you want to create before you can figure out what the business needs to look like, right? So now I have a congruent match. And that's really, really important. Okay, because often we skip over that and we just assume. That's why I have people who they buy franchises because they don't want to do all this stuff. Okay, they want a proven, it's a subjective word there. They want a proven model, right? It's all done, right? What you will find is if they don't do that first part, they buy a franchise because it's inexpensive or does this or that or whatever for them. They don't have to think about it. But then they find out that they don't like making sandwiches 6 months down the road. And now they've got a franchise that they cannot get out of. Okay, so this piece is really, really, really important. So here's my formula for success. Passion, Absolutely required. Passion's going to make you get up when you don't want to. Passion's going to make you have to make the phone call you never wanted to make. Okay? Passion's essential. But any of us who've lived long enough understand that passion can also make us stupid. Okay? So it has to be balanced. So what happens if I get too caught up in my passion, I jump straight to execution because I am a believer, right? I know that I've been dreaming it. I've been thinking about it. You know, this is not something you guys came up with yesterday. Okay. So it makes us jump straight to execution, and we forget this other part that sometimes feels a little mundane. It's the preparation piece, right? That's what this class is it's all about the preparation piece. There's a problem with preparation piece too, because sometimes we look for perfect. We want that little sign thing. This is guaranteed to work, okay, and bring me X, and it's signed, sealed, and approved, and it's going to be perfect. There's no such thing, okay? There is no such thing. So people look to make their business plan perfect, and this also goes into your guys' risk factor. Every one of you is in a different place in life. You have a different set of circumstances. I have people, and there's nothing wrong with any of this, but I have people that get 2 inches of water and they are ready to jump head first. Okay, they are like all in. I get other people, they've got 12 feet of water. They've been working on this business plan for 4 years. Okay, it's not quite perfect. It's not quite the right time. It's, whatever, right? They want 2 more feet. They get stuck there. Okay. So being aware of that and being aware of your risk factor becomes a really big, important thing. The other thing this business plan is for, if you have significant others in your life who are going to be impacted by this choice, guess who is your first sale? Them. They need to be confident that you've thought this out properly, because there's risk involved in all of these. Okay. And having everybody understand and know that is really, really important. So here's the process. So it's a 9-week plan. It's online. Okay. We meet every Tuesday night. Okay. From 5 to 8. These classes are recorded. So if you're late or you miss one, or, stuff happens, right? It is recorded for you. Okay. If you will. The book they use, I personally own an online entrepreneurial training program. What I did is I took the written part of that, and because we do videos and all that stuff, but I turned it into a book. Okay. So you have the book, and then every week you have homework. Okay. And the homework is it's not about it's about you working through how you apply what we talked about. So a lot of it is your own personal, what would I do if you are in this business with a partner, you sit down, the two of you, and make sure you guys are on the same page. If you're in a partnership, you guys need to be on the same page. Okay. What would we do if? Okay. For that. So you have, so the worksheets, you never turn anything in. We don't see anything. Okay. Everybody gets to work at their own level. The way the class is set up, I'm going to say the first 3 weeks, it's kind of front loaded. Like there's just lots of stuff, right? There's stuff, right? And then it starts lessening on the work because now you're out doing research, you're out doing other things, right, to build the plans. Okay. So it's kind of front loaded from that standpoint. One of the things I also included is this important of you guys journaling. Okay. And this is an option. You don't have to do it. I mean, but I have found that as you go through this and you just journal how you feel about it, what you found out, so you can reference it later, kind of thing, and just kind of journal this process. And so you will start to find out things about yourself. You will start to find things out about the industry, certainly. Okay. And the goal is to design one that you can actually execute. Okay. So that means you have to be able to get the money for it or, make it happen. All right. So then we bring in it comes down to research, right? We bring in the research people. They show you how to do research, right? And then how to quantify it, right? How do I take this up here and make it apply to me, right? Is part of it. So learning how to read trends, learning how to read are there different models out there that maybe I can adopt, okay, that I hadn't thought of before? Or for you to really start figuring out where is going to be your starting point. Okay. Where, it's not just, it's where can I begin? And then we bring in the experts. So we bring in the accounting people. We bring to help you understand financials. We bring in the marketing people. We bring in the researchers. We bring in an attorney. We have a lending panel. The bankers come in and we do a panel and we ask them a few questions and then we turn it over to you guys and you guys ask whatever you want. All right. I am really big into groups. I think you can learn more from each other sometimes than you can from us. All right. And so we will do activities where we break into groups. And one of my favorites is one, and I don't remember which week we do this, but basically it's you guys can sign up to not be in the hot seat, but be in the warm seat. I like to say it because that sounds friendlier than hot seat. But basically you come up and say, this to the class, this is my problem. This is where my struggle is. I don't know quite how to get around this or do this. And then we spend 15 minutes or so solving your what? Your problem. So instead of having one brain, you got a bunch. And part of my goal here is for you guys to make friends. I don't want you, the worst thing in the world is to do this by yourself. Yeah, it's really mastermind in a lot of ways. So the idea is, and I've had people who've made relationships in this class and they still have those relationships because nobody understands as much. Spouses try really hard, okay, but no one understands owning your own business more than another person who owns their own business. It's just the truth, okay. And then the best way to get out of this is the SBDC, if you don't know, they offer free consulting. Okay, so you have access through this center to, I'm going to say probably, I don't know what the estimate is now, Raul, but I'm going to say 18 or so business consultants who all have different expertise. Okay, a lot of them are coming to the class. You'll see the marketing guys. You'll see they'll come in, okay, and talk to you about marketing. But your real value here is once you know how you're going to do this and what's your value add or how you're going, how you're going to say to your market or how you're going to talk to your market. Once you've got that figured out, then you're going to go to our marketing guys. Right. And our marketing guys can review your website. They can we have one of them, he's an authority positioning guy. Okay, basically, especially if you're the product, you need to be seen as what? The authority, right? That's his specialty, right? So he can help you in that process. We have Pete Karen comes in, she's a former banker. Okay, she comes in and she talks about the accounting piece. And then guess who you can come and meet for free? Karen and our other people. We have other people that can help you set up your accounting, understand it better, right? I read business plans all day long. I do that. I can help you with that. But then your financials, I want one of our people who understands financials from that side to look at your financials. Okay. So the idea is you're getting touch points all the way along through this class and after this class. This isn't just something that comes with the class. The SBDC offers free business consulting. That's what we do here. I would say probably 85% or so. I haven't ever tested this roles, and I'm going to maybe we run a test someday, but I'm going to say probably 85% of the people who do consulting for the SBDC, we're all business owners. We're not college professors who said, maybe I should try this. I read it in a book. Okay. Well, you live it. We live it. I think that gives us a different perspective. And we have no skin in the game. We're not selling you anything. We're not selling you, we're not doing that. Right. So how can we help you get to where you want to go? So the real piece here, guys, is you don't have to do this by yourself. You got support. So Raul, let's go through these questions here and get them answered.
Perfect. Yeah. So got does Leading Edge still, I don't know if we answered this yet, but does Leading Edge still follow the business canvas model?
Yes. Yeah. And you can pick your model. So if you're doing a nonprofit, I will tell you as a general, you can follow the nonprofit model. If you have a social aspect to it, you can do that one. So you can work with different models. Results the same.
Another question was, is Leading Edge better suited for a brick and mortar, or can it also be useful for a service that travels or an online-based business?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's just a different product. A service, you're the product. Brick and mortar, you've got more costs, right? So what some people do is this staging piece, right? So like, let me give you an example real quick. One of the examples is, I have a client maybe 10 years ago. Okay. And he was in one of our Leading Edge classes. And he had just graduated. Well, not he had just graduated. He was a former graduate of Johnson & Wales. Okay. He was an executive chef. He had thought about building a fine restaurant since he was 8 years old. That was the dream, right? And he was going through this class, and it became very apparent to him when we started getting to the numbers that there was no way he could come up with $1 million for a fine restaurant. That's what it was back then. So he's like, I can't get that money. There's no way I can, nobody in their right mind is going to give me that kind of money. Okay, kind of thing. And he was despondent, absolutely despondent, because this had been the dream. And so we had a meeting, and I said, okay. I said, now what? And so that's when the food trucks were starting to move from roach coaches to like cool, right? And a new rebirth of food. And so we looked into that, and he's an executive chef. He's not going to have some kind of crummy, food truck here. So that was 150 grand. He couldn't come up with that either. So again, question is now what? So he ended up buying a $12,000 used food cart. And I talked to him about 3 years ago because he kept in touch. And I said, okay, what's happened? What's going on, right? And with you now. And I said, are you ever gonna open up that fine restaurant? He goes, not happening. I said, well, what are you doing? And he says, I own 22 food carts. I said, really? And he says, yeah, I says, and he was he was calling me from Portugal. And I said, what are you doing in Portugal? He said, I'm running my company. I said, how are you doing? And he says, I just have to find places for these food carts. This is what I do. He says, do you know the profit margin on a hot dog stand? He says, it will make your head spin. And he says, there's one true thing I found out. Americans will never get tired of hot dogs. He came in here, ended up here, and then his last thing is he says, I'm doing very, very well. Because he learned how to work on his business, not in his business. Other questions?
Yes. So we have talking about food businesses. I want to start a food business. I want to learn how to start. It's not an exact question, but I thought, good to address
Yeah.
that idea.
So the food business is, we work with a lot. We're really used to working with a lot of food businesses. So we've looked at a lot of different models. Okay. We worked with a lot of breweries, worked with a lot of from that standpoint. So and then Natalie, you've got, deliverables. At the end of the class, well, that kind of depends. Okay, at the end of the class, you should have a business plan. If you've done all your homework, okay, you should have your business plan. If not, you're still working on it. So what? It's a work in process, and you continue to work with us, and we'll get you, on your speed, as long as you know the concepts. So, anybody else? Other questions?
Yes.
Because we're gone over time. I'm sorry about
So
that.
Marguerite has to run. I don't know if she did already, but a couple more questions were just, what are the exact dates, time, and cost?
That's your part, Roll.
Yeah, so we're class will be going from starting April 23rd. It'll be every Tuesday for 9 weeks. So the last class will be June 18th. And it'll be every Tuesday from 5 to 8 p.m. The cost of the course is $399. We did have some questions about scholarships as well. In the past, we've also offered scholarships through city partnerships. That piece of it is not really so down the same that it was before, but we do have a community service scholarship. So if your business is one that it gives back to the community, there's certain qualifications, but I'll drop the link for that. If you want to apply for that scholarship, that'll cut the cost effectively in half if you qualify for that. Okay, so it doesn't hurt to try, right? And so let me drop a couple more pieces of information here in the chat, because I know everybody has to get running here. I'll drop the link to the scholarship, drop the link to the registration page for the actual leading edge course. If you're waiting for your scholarship to be approved and go through, you don't want to register for the class yet. Wait for the scholarship, and then you can I'll send you how to register for the course using the discount for the scholarship. So what if you get approved for that? So let me just send that out real quick before we answer any other questions, so you guys have that information available to you. And then, if there's any other questions that anyone wants to ask verbally really fast while I'm dropping that in the chat to Nancy. Yeah, so Ava, just apply for the scholarship, and then we'll tease all that out on the back end. I think you might have, that concept looks familiar, so I don't know if you had already applied or not, but let me send that out to you guys right now. Okay, so here's the link to register for the course. If you know you're not going to get a scholarship, you're ready to get started, go ahead and click the link and register. And then the community service-based scholarship link is at the very bottom there as well. So if you think, hey, let me just try, let me see if that makes sense, and see if you qualify. Then we'll go from there. Okay, you did apply. Cool. Yeah, so I'm still reviewing those, and I'll get back to you by end of week on that for sure. Okay. So we've got enough space in there for you, Ava, still. So if we'll get you in there one way or another. Any other questions? Anybody ask anything earlier, feel they didn't get their question answered yet? Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. So Nancy, I don't know if you have any last
No,
thoughts.
I just, invite y'all to come, and if you can, and the goal is not just to work hard, but it's to have some fun. So, and to really give you guys some confidence, is probably part of this as well. So you got backup. And here's the last thing. I've seen people do amazing things with not a lot of money. I've also seen people do amazingly stupid things with a lot of money. Okay, because they think the money's never going to run out. All right. So we want to get you that confidence where you are willing to risk, and so that you can make an impact and change how you live and what you do and reach whatever goals you have on the life goals. That's part of our goal here. Is I want you guys to attain what you want. And so there's a lot of people here this is a great center, and they work really, really hard to help you reach them. So all I can say, hope you join us, and if you can't, maybe another time, but here you go. And like I say, Rawls can answer any questions you've got, and if there's something he can't answer, he'll slip it over to me and I'll answer it. Okay, so I hope to see you on the 23rd, and we go from there.